So just recently I found out there's an M103 tank not too far away from my house. So today me and my dad have decided that we want to go take a look at it. Now, I really like the M103 tank because it's America's last heavy tank, and only about 300 were made, so it's kind of a rare tank to see, and I don't know how many have been scrapped either. To put this into perspective, the US made 15,000 M60 tanks, and we've made over 10,000 Abrams tanks so far, so, you know, 300 is definitely not a lot when you're talking about the tens of thousands of tanks. So anyways, yeah, we're gonna go check it out. I've never been to Buc-ee's before.
And the price is high. It'll be the same price at Buc-ee's. $3.39. And the price of gas is the same rate.
They're listening in. Oh shit, there it is.
Turn left.
Yeah, right there.
Turn left, then your destination will
Holy
be on
fuck.
the right.
Alright, so today we're going to be looking at the M103. One of the first things I want to start out is with the cast hull. It's like iconic of the 1950s tanks to have a cast hull like that. One, it made like, you know, production cheaper, but then two, the armor is thicker.
How thick was it?
It really varies. The thing is with the armor is it varies on the thickness. As you go up, it's definitely thinner, but because it has a sloped, you know, it has like this eggshell kind of look to it, and so rounds will just hit it and bounce off. The front part, I'm pretty sure that was like about a foot thick, and then the lower plate is thinner. It's close to, I believe the underside is about 5 inches, but again, it is sloped, and so if you hit it from the side here, it, you know, it has a higher chance of bouncing like downwards.
Okay, so this has got a Marine Corps logo. So was this tank in the Marine Corps?
Yeah, it was developed for the Army, but they didn't really like it as much. They only kept about 70 of the 300 that were made, and the Marines got the rest of them. And so it kind of just stuck around with the Marines till the 1960s and 70s.
So just to let you know, so Semper Fidelis, that means always faithful. Eagle means, you know, we're a fighting group. We've searched the world, and we're from the Department of the Navy. That's what the three. But
so as you can see, giant ass gun right here. This was 120 millimeters, and especially for back in the day, 120 millimeters was a lot, considering the M48 was 90, the T55 and T54 they were 100. So, you know, definitely a big gun. Not as big as the Russians' gun. They had 122 on the IS-4, and I don't know what the T10 was, but yeah, certainly a big gun. It used 2-piece ammunition. So you would have to have 2 loaders as well. One person put the round in, second person put the charges in, you know, fire. Reload rate was pretty slow, especially compared to like what the Abrams is. You can see guys, you know, throw a 120 round in the chamber of an Abrams in about 7 seconds, where this might take closer to 20. Maybe a little less than that, I'm not sure, depending on how fast the loaders are.
can you do pull-ups on the barrel here? 1, 2. Whoa. A little slippery, was it?
Yeah, it's a little slippery. So it could use a couple different rounds. It had, you know, your standard solid shot round that could go through about a foot of armor. You had a heat round, which was really good. That could go through, I think the Army's plan was for it to go through about 13 inches of steel or rolled homogeneous armor, and it ended up being able to go through about 15. So, you know, pretty damn good. It also had a smoke round and an HE round. So coming around the side of the tank, just taking a look at the suspension. This is a torsion bar suspension. It's fairly common on a lot of tanks, especially nowadays. You know, back when tanks were still being made, and you know, like the 1910s to the 1940s, there really wasn't a consensus on what they wanted to do with the suspension, but pretty much since the 1950s, late 40s onwards, it's been all torsion bar suspension. This one does look a lot more heftier than the M60 one. I mean, it's a bigger tank, of course, but I don't know, there's just a certain like look to it that I like a lot better than the M60. Coming around to the back, you can see that this is a M103 A2 variant because the engine deck is raised. They put a bigger engine in, 750 horsepower. They did that in the 1960s. Before this new engine, the operational range of the M103 was 80 miles, which is like kind of ass when you're in a war zone. But then they basically tripled it to 300 miles or thereabout. So yeah, it made the M103 a lot better. Right here is one of my favorite parts. This is where the phone is. There's no phone in here. So if you were an infantryman and you needed support, like let's say there was some Viet Cong, on the side of the hill over there, you'd be able to phone the commander inside or the gunner and tell them, hey, I need you to traverse to the right or left. There's some Viet Cong on the side of the hill right there.
So this tank was used in Vietnam?
Unfortunately, it wasn't. It never made it. They decided to only use the M48s. For one, it's really heavy. It's America's last heavy tank. It weighed over 55 tons, which is not a lot considering the Abrams weighs like 63 or 64 tons. But for back then, it weighed a lot more, and it was just, the hills and the jungles of Vietnam made it a pain in the ass to transport like logistically and stuff. Was a vehicle recovery version of this. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it had like a giant crane on it, and you could, if you had an M48 or another vehicle stuck in the mud, you could use it to rip it out. This is the air filters right here, and you open it up, but as you can see, the bolts are welded. At least they didn't, when I saw the M60, they had like the tracks welded together to the sprocket, so it can't move anymore, which is unfortunate. Oh yeah, another interesting thing on the hull is you can see that, you can just see more of the cast part, so it's like sloped here, so even if you get a side shot in, it's likely to bounce up and not do as much damage. Pretty thick here too. Again, I just really like the 1950s cast armor. Do you see any signs that say no climbing?
I do not.
Okay.
Looks like a...
So right here, we have the stereoscopic gunner sight. They didn't have laser rangefinders back then, so what you do is you take two images and try and line it up, and that's how you range find the target of an enemy tank. Back then, that was pretty cutting edge technology, but nowadays it's seen as ancient and archaic. And again, this turret is huge. It held 4 people. You'd have 2 loaders, one for the round, one for the charge. You'd have the commander, of course, who would sit in the commander's cupola, and then you'd have the gunner shooting the gun, of course. Let's see that tall. Oh, geez, I can't open it. I don't know if I should do that. Here's a better look at the stereoscopic. Did you get that on video?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the M103. Really big tank. I'm glad I was able to come out and see it today. Just absolutely massive. Not many of them made. I'm sure a lot of them were scrapped, so even fewer left. And yeah. All right, y'all, that was my review of the M103. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to this part of the video. I would appreciate if we could get 1 or maybe even 2 likes on this video. And hey, maybe I'll even do another review. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.